Every Saturday is Catterday on Echoplex Media, and not only are we posting fucking cats, we invite all content creators to join our open panel. Visit echoplexmedia.com/panel to learn how to join. Every third Saturday is Operation Catterday, where we cover this week and last year and play the best clips from the cast of conspiracy characters that Now Space has learned to loathe. The show starts at 8 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/echoplexmedia. Find our full schedule at echoplexmedia.com.
At some point, we are going to have to do a whole show about how good this show sounds.
Everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show live every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific right here, Echoplex Media. That's on Twitch, twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. I'm producer Dave, and you can find me on Grindr.
Más o menos, esto es The Councilman. You can find me on Twitter at @THE_Councilman. Although this week has been a little bit crazy for me on the campaign and election front, so I haven't been tweeting or replying as much as I'm used to. But thanks for all for joining us. I'm looking forward to a really feisty election night here on Down Ballot. Please stay tuned for Local Love later on. And obviously, stay tuned to all of the Echoplex Media channels. Give us some of your Patreon bucks. Give us some of your shill bucks. Give us some of your Twitch subs. And make sure that you tune in both here live and also download that podcast on any podcatcher that you so choose to use, because we like to appreciate freedom here on Echoplex Media, and that's exemplified by this huge star and stripes icon on our screen at this point here.
Oh God, well, it's on your screen.
Yeah, sorry, it's on my screen.
It's not on. Certainly, we don't have any patriotic iconography on our stream ever. Don't get it twisted.
No, this is definitely from the news stream. In fact, it's probably their Decision 2022 iconograph. But if since it is election night, I thought we could just hop right into it. We've got quite a few stories on the docket. Thank you for helping to pull together many stories on what's going on out there, Producer Dave.
Yes, our first story is. It's not looking good for Chesa in the recall.
That's pretty much what it's looking like, and we'll just let the story play out, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Primary election day is here, polls open. In about an hour, voters in San Francisco are deciding should their district attorney stay or should he go. Chesa Boudin faces recall today in an election that's really getting national attention.
Today in the base, Chris Sanchez joining us this morning with what's at stake for Boudin as well as the city. Chris.
Well, good morning to you both. So experts say that this is really about more than just the recall of Chesa Boudin. This really speaks to whether or not his progressive policies are too lenient on crime, as his critics have proposed. Now, the campaign went late into the night.
Now, what we're not going to do is show you any statistics on violent crime in San Francisco. We'll talk to the person on the street.
Correct. We're not actually going to do journalism. In this piece, this is all going to be conjecture. I mean, you talk to campaign consultants, and even that is absolutely like a person on the street kind of commentary anyway, right? They're all just designed to say what's going to best support their own candidate or their own client, as it were. So yeah, like this is pretty shoddy journalism. You'd be showing some graphs and showing how actually violent crime has declined. Gone down since Chesa Boudin was elected. So, and by the way, he was elected with a majority of the vote in an election with broad participation, not the 14% that we're seeing right now coming to the polls in California, at least as of yesterday. I've heard that there have been quote unquote lines to drop off ballots today, but I don't buy that. It's going to be really, 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 really low turnout, and every old white vote is going to count like 10 times more than it normally would. So
you mean like how the Senate works, like the U.S. the United States Senate?
Exactly. We're going to
actually there's like a cow in Wyoming that has more senatorial power than I do.
This is actually true. This has been proven by facts, and we could have a chart that shows that. But yeah, I know that we're going to see that play out here locally, and you're going to see the decisions you have to make and the choices you have in front of you in November in a general election are determined by the primary election in a lot of ways. So if you don't like who's on the ballot for mayor in November, you probably should have voted in June. But not many people have. So if you still have 21 minutes
to connect with voters in San Francisco, gathering that last minute support. Chesa Boudin was elected, you might remember, on a platform of social justice, fewer incarcerations, more diversion programs, but opponents say that platform has now turned into a lack of prosecution for criminals.
Country needs criminal justice reform, but criminal justice reform doesn't mean just letting people out of custody, and it's not a choice.
I mean, maybe it does.
You have to choose between criminal justice reform and public safety. You can have both at the same time, and he is not delivering that.
They're interested in exploring other ways.
I never even knew who that guy was.
They are not committed to a punishment-only approach, a jail-only approach. They want services, they want supports.
Now, a lot of eyes.
Well, they didn't even have the volume on.
They have no audio from Chesa.
Yikes, dude.
Op-eds from big newspapers across the country, and that is because we are wondering whether or not this is going to say something about that movement for social justice reform. The polls are open until 8 o'clock tonight. Back to you.
That was great. They showed him talking, but they didn't let us hear what he's saying.
Right. It's a convenient, awkward loss of audio there. So, Producer Dave, what do you think if Chesa Boudin were to be recalled tonight? And we'll check out the results a little later on Downballot Watch. What do you think that means in terms of the national conversation around police reform, defund the police, whatever you want to call it, right? What do you think that would mean if he were recalled tonight?
Not much. At least I would hope so, because he's not a cop. So, like, right. He can only prosecute what the fucking police bring him. So first, like, right. that's like one thing. The other thing is, like, they're like leaning on property crime that has always existed in San Francisco. Everybody, ever since I've known anybody that moved to San Francisco, they're like, oh, your windows get smashed out in your car every once in a while here.
Yeah, that's welcome to the city. Do you think it puts the police reform or defund, whatever you want to call it, but defund is a very easy word, but the police reform or policing reform movement, do you think it sets it back at all that he would be, if he were to be recalled, in terms of the narrative, right, in the politics?
I don't know. We'll have to see, because, like, it would be interesting to watch a bunch of right-wingers who say San Francisco's hella crazy, then, like, try to lean on this, like San Francisco did the right thing, or you know what I'm saying? They'll go, oh, yeah. Even in liberal San Francisco, they'll do that. But it's like, fuck it, they're going to do that no matter what happens if, like, something goes their way in a city. I don't know.
I know. I actually had the exact same thought. I was thinking, this is one of those moments where national Republicans or national conservatives will look at this and be able to harp on exactly that. Even in liberal bastion San Francisco, even they know Chesa Boudin and this crazy radical criminal justice reform movement has gone too far. And that'll be the narrative in Texas, right? Because we're fucking crazy here. That's how they view all of us in the Bay Area is wacko liberals. So the fact that we couldn't get it together to defend our own person is going to be laughable to them. In much the same way that I think we kind of we laugh at other countries that struggle with democracy, right? When we have our own issues right here with democracy. So yet to be seen what this means for the national narrative. I think that because it's such a small, we're seeing such small turnout. It's such a small electorate. Politically, like at any other election, I think Chesa would walk to safety. It's just that we're seeing, abysmally low turnout, and that usually means that the more frothy base turns out, right, and wins, and that's the recall effort. So we saw that with the school board elections. We'll probably see that here, and it's disappointing, but we'll see. The results will come in later, and maybe Chesa's consultants have been saying that everyone's getting it wrong, as consultants are wont to do, like I said. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, that's their job, right? To spin a narrative
absolutely.
So that people don't go, well, there's no hope, I might as well not vote.
Yes, and especially the base, right? Well, I mean, one, they're getting paid to, usually lots of money, and the guy like Jay Ross, who's working for Chesa, is getting paid lots of money to do this work. So he's in a way obligated that way. But yeah, in the same way, you also don't want to depress your base. You don't want to depress any last minute votes. You don't want to lose any momentum you might have, and also disappoint and depress your friends by saying, like, we don't have a chance, guys. Thanks for all the fish. We'll see what happens.
Cool. Well, we're going to move on to winners and losers here, where there are no winners, but on the off chance there is a winner, it's not the one you were rooting for.
Right. It's usually some old white dude.
So it looks like we got the first probable case of monkeypox detected in the San Francisco.
We begin with that breaking news. It is here. The Bay Area has its first suspected case of monkeypox. The outbreak of this rare virus, distinguished by that rash, appears to have spread to the Bay Area. Now, this is the fifth monkeypox case in California. The first three were identified in Sacramento County last week. And then last night, we told you about a suspected case in Los Angeles County, and now here in the Bay Area. So how concerned should you be? NBC Bay Area's Ian Cull spoke with an infectious disease expert.
Tonight, the first probable case of monkeypox confirmed in San Francisco. The public health department says the unidentified person traveled to a location with an outbreak in cases. They are in isolation and in good condition. The person hasn't had any close contacts in San Francisco. We spoke with UCSF infectious disease specialist Dr. Peter Chin Hong.
You need to be together with somebody for more than 3 hours, typically, to get monkeypox.
Monkeypox is a rare but potentially serious viral illness, usually found in West and Central Africa. It was first discovered in monkeys in the late 1950s. More than a decade later, it spread to humans. Common symptoms include fever, aches, and a distinctive rash all over the body. We asked if it's something people should worry about.
We should not be worried at all. This is expected. Actually, we expected that there would be an increase in cases, but the increase in cases has not been astronomical or exponential. It's been very gradual.
He says there are already PCR tests to detect it, and monkeypox usually takes 3 weeks after exposure to get sick.
But I think there are two things I'd probably ask people to do specifically around monkeypox. First of all, don't be intimate with anybody who is ill, and that's not just a monkeypox thing. That goes for COVID. The second thing to do, obviously, is if you see a very characteristic rash, work with public health to get care for that person, and then they will likely do contact tracing as well.
Right now, there are 2 vaccines available. One is specifically for monkeypox, the other, the smallpox vaccine. And if you already had smallpox or the vaccine, doctors say you're immune. The CDC is releasing additional...
No, doctors shouldn't say immune. They should say you're very likely immune.
Yeah, never speak in absolutes, especially when you're the CDC.
Especially after fucking COVID, when they were giving you like things that were like high probability and acting as if it was 100%, where all they had to do is be like, very high probability is this.
Yeah, show me the data. Show me the chart. Again, show me the bloody chart.
Stockpile. And the state says it has procured those vaccines to distribute to counties for preventative use for people who are identified as close contacts. Doctors also say most people who get it recover on their own. Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
Now, tonight, we're also learning from the CDC that there are 2 variants of the monkeypox in the U.S. The agency says the variants are genetically different. There are at least 22 confirmed cases in the U.S., 2 from people who recently traveled to Africa. The other cases resemble the genetic makeup of an outbreak in Europe. Experts say this suggests the cases stem from 2 separate outbreaks, which makes tracking the origin a bit more difficult.
Not if you're a person with a Substack blog and a fucking podcast. You already know it came from a lab in Wuhan, China. What the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly, right? No, actually, Wuhan, forget that, man. It came from an American CIA lab in like Kansas somewhere. I remember, okay, fine. I'll take Dr. Peter Chen-Hung at his word that this is, totally expected and we can deal with this and this is very easy to manage. I do reflect back on 2 years ago when, my the good wife and I were taking a little road trip, probably one of the last conventions we ever went to. And, we're on the way down, we're listening to NPR and there's a story about this virus that's popped up in Wuhan, China. This is January 2020. And,
2.5 years, sir. Almost 2.5
years. Jesus Christ, yeah, 2.5 years ago. And, a few cases here and there, and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and should folks be worried about it? And it hadn't been detected here yet, but it was here. And I remember that very distinctly when I watch any of these now. Now, maybe it's a little paranoia. Maybe it's not, but a healthy dose of paranoia never hurts. So just be careful out there. I do note that it takes a good 3 hours of being with someone to contract it from them. So you're either talking about family or a little bit friendlier friend, if you know what I mean. So
yeah. It seems like it's not gonna be a big deal, but it's worth keeping an eye on. And
absolutely. But although if we don't have to see that rash ever again, I would be very cool with that.
But the news has to they have to show you what it looks like if there's rashes.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying that I won't see it again. It's just I don't need to. All right, moving right along down the ballot here, the docket that is. So. Looks like COVID cases are on the rise again. If I sound like a broken record, it's happening on a regular basis, and that's fine. That's how it works. But some counties have decided to respond by reinstituting their mask mandates, and I'm sure that's going to make people super stoked.
There's some confusion, acceptance, and downright defiance. The mask mandate might
no shit.
Back, but we're still seeing plenty.
Dude, the place you don't want to get defiant is the fucking airport.
Yeah, not even in a joking kind of way. Actually, especially not in a joking kind of way, as I found out the wrong way. The good wife can tell you. Anyway, continue to play the video.
And us to wear a face mask at all times.
Mask mandates making a mid-year comeback.
It'd be nice if it was over, but it is what it is.
As of today, face coverings
guys, cool.
are no longer optional in Alameda County, which means if you're flying to or from Oakland International, you'll have to mask up, surprising some travelers.
I better get one out.
The requirement revival applies to most indoor settings and comes amid rising COVID cases and hospitalizations statewide.
Of course, nobody likes them, but I think it's a good thing.
To be honest, I don't know if this is going to make that much of a difference.
The abrupt changes announced Thursday
This is ridiculous.
are frustrating many ahead of takeoff.
If TSA makes me do it, I'll do it. That's about
Whoa, dude, get the thing, fucking do what the airport could do. The airport could be like, well, you got to get to the airport before you get to me. So you got to get through the airport before you get to the TSA. So there's the door. Get the fuck out the airport.
Yeah, right. There are options here. You're not being forced to do anything.
Fucking the Ruffies have an unreleased song about being a libertarian cockpickle. That's what this guy is. 100%.
100%. And Rand loving.
To my flight, I'll do what I have to, but I don't prefer it.
Bare faces are still being let through TSA, with crowded arrivals showing the same.
There were less masks than I had anticipated.
That's a red flag for the Robleses, who experienced a bad case of COVID.
We need to catch this early again, and so we don't get to that point again, for myself and for others.
Even though we're vaccinated and we're boostered, I don't ever want to go through that again.
Oakland Airport says the changes are being announced over their PA systems. Masks are available for passengers, and they're working to put up signs to encourage compliance. When will they be stopped? When will they actually have to put it
What do you mean encourage compliance? You remember after 9/11, all the shit you had to do with the fucking, you couldn't bring on a goddamn fucking like shampoo and shit. You remember that?
Oh, absolutely. You still can't. You still can't bring anything liquid over like 3 ounces, I think, on a plane. You have to take your shoes off when you go through the metal detectors, right? And it's not even a metal detector anymore. It's like a freaking full body nudie scan, right? Like you just sort of stand up like this and they can see all your whatty-whats. It's fucking amazing.
Because people were willing to be afraid of Muslims, but not of a virus. That's what I learned about America. Like America,
yeah, right.
We fear people with the wrong imaginary friend, but we're not afraid of a virus that has no belief system and exists only to kill you.
Correct. I even saw a tweet about this just the other day, just breaking down like the one time someone like tried to sneak a bomb onto a plane in their shoes. Now everyone has to fucking take off their shoes, and if someone walks into a first grade classroom and kills all the kids and the teachers with a gun, and yet we don't do anything, right? It's like, what's wrong with our fucking system right now? I don't know.
Our kind of course of action here is just to ensure that communication is there so that passengers know what is expected.
Oakland Airport says even they were surprised by the changes and are working to increase awareness. It's particularly confusing for arriving passengers because federal law says you don't have to wear a mask while on the plane. But once you get to the airport, you're in county territory. In Oakland, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
Yeah, that's a lot of different rules to follow. All right, thank you, Valina.
No, it's not. That's not a lot of different rules to follow. So they might have just been filming this like on the first day, right? Or something. And that may explain some of it.
Yeah, it was 100% on the fly. They get these, and frankly, local news, and we get into this on Downballot a lot because we primarily, leverage local news stories. It leaves a lot to be desired in terms of journalism, right? Oftentimes the news assignment desk on one of these TV stations gets a story and they push it out to their reporter without really a whole lot of context. And the reporter is used to covering just all sorts of different things, right? Whatever gets thrown at them. And so they have no subject matter expertise. They don't really even know like the right questions to ask a lot of the time. So they're really just trying to do their job of putting together stuff, hits and stories that can then get shared on the evening news and then posted on YouTube. And hopefully they make their story, their story is something that gets shared around a lot, right? And they get noticed and maybe they get picked up by a bigger news organization, right? That's the nature of the beast. And so you get these stories that just don't really have a lot of depth to them, and they don't really, the right questions aren't asked, and the facts and the data and the charts aren't presented to you because they're not really looking for that. They're just looking to find the story, and they'll take whatever they can get from whoever they can get it from. And it's really cynical, but good media folks, they pick up on that and they try to leverage that. I tried, in my professional work to toe a little, more of an ethical line there, but I too am susceptible to the hot headline, the clickbait, right? Getting those likes, getting that attention.
So I just feel like,
anyway, sorry.
If it was the first day of this thing going into effect, that would have been what you lead the fucking story with, so that the confusion makes sense to your viewer. Even if it's the second day, you know what I'm saying? If it's like, this is new, like impress upon people that this is new, and some of the non-compliance you're seeing is people who are getting off the plane who had no idea.
Right. It's Alameda County making a decision. Here's what Alameda County includes the airport in Oakland. So be aware, if you're going to Oakland Airport, you're going to be required to wear a mask when you're indoors, period. And most airlines, by the way, are still requiring masks on their flights. Right. I don't know that many of them are not, even though the whatever the FAA has or whoever said, oh, it's okay. I don't know that many airlines are lifting their mandates, and I would not fly on any fucking airline that didn't still have a mask mandate.
So one of our favorite places to cover on winners and losers is the city of Milpitas.
Milpitas.
So Milpitas is going to show its ass here. Here we go.
It's a smelly
couple becomes the victim of a racist rant in the South Bay. Appreciate you joining us tonight on Cron 4 News at 9, everybody. I'm Grant Lotus.
And I'm Vicky Liviakis. The couple says that they stepped in after seeing the man, as you heard in the video there, start yelling at a woman who was alone in her car, and then he blocked her in. Cron 4's Taylor Bisacki has a story you'll only see on Cron 4 News.
And Twitter.
Come back to Mexico,
A racist rant caught on camera at a Walmart parking lot off Ranch Drive in Milpitas on Friday.
I got a knife right here. What's up?
Scared. To be honest, scared. Because I don't know, but lately it's been a lot of shootings.
Lauren Amato was the one taking this video. She and her boyfriend Sebastian say they saw the man in the video harassing a woman in a car nearby. They say he parked behind the woman's car, preventing her from leaving, got out of the vehicle, and then began knocking on her windows. That's when the couple got out of their car and stepped in to help.
This is a woman. She's alone. So I just, I want to help.
Oh, good on them.
Out of my car, and then so he saw me, and I was like, is there a problem?
Amato says that's when he began yelling at her and her boyfriend, calling Sebastian a derogatory slur and telling the couple, who are from Colombia, to go back to Mexico. She says the man even threatened them with a knife.
I got a knife right here. What's up?
I called the cops. He left before the cops got there. And then the cops didn't do anything. They just asked me for the license, and we don't know what happened with this guy.
Amato says she's disappointed by the continued racism and hate across the country.
It's a bit painful because, we leave our countries to get like a better opportunity, and we're not doing anything wrong here. We're just doing the best we can. We're trying to be good people. We try to help this woman.
In Milpitas, Taylor Bisacki, Cron 4 News.
I don't know. I guess good on those young people for just being like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, no, I absolutely good on them. And this Colombian couple who apparently needs to go back to Mexico. That's hilarious. I feel like we see this quite a bit. And it's not as though this doesn't happen right here. Right? These are incidents right here in the Bay Area. I think this show can be a very good reminder to folks that it's not just like the deep South or whatever stereotype you have of racism where this shit exists. It's right here. It's right here. It's in your neighborhood. It's right around the corner. It's next door to your house, maybe. It exists. And when you see it, you need to call it the fuck out and you need to shut it down. Period.
So the only difference here really is that if you fuck around like that enough times, you might eventually find out.
Oh yeah.
If you're in a city and you do if you're in a dense area, dense diverse area, that's the main difference, is that you're taking a bigger risk by doing this. So what happens is the more extreme people, the people who are more, I guess, prone to violence, less afraid of the consequences of it, are going to be the ones doing this. So you're going to end up with like the more people wiling out more, like they'll be more aggressive because if they're not willing to be that aggressive, they might not even be willing to start that shit in the first place.
Precisely.
So I don't know. I don't know what they should have done, but bum rushing as soon as he said he had a knife isn't out of the question.
Yeah, not at all. Just shut it down. Shut it down. Whatever it takes. Good on the local news for covering it, but it's more like it's just sensationalism from the local news. The only reason we find out about this and the heroism of this young couple is through this sensational local news, unfortunately. So good on them, and let's all hope that we would be the same. We would do the same, right, in the same situation. That we would shut it down. Shut it down. All right. Well, speaking of shutting it down. If you got a 18th century musket sitting around the house that your like great grandpappy left to you, you could get some cash for that shit.
Law enforcement in San Mateo and Marin counties both held gun buyback events to help get firearms off the street. In exchange, many people walked away with hundreds of dollars in cash. KPIX5's Max Darrow shows us the types of weapons they surrendered.
At this gun buyback event in South San Francisco, law enforcement took in hundreds of guns, from rifles and pistols to assault-style weapons and ghost guns.
Rifles in the front seat.
Cars lined up in South City on Saturday morning with people eager to sell their guns to the cops.
I brought a .22 rifle and a handgun.
One service pistol. It was my husband's.
A total of 392 firearms were collected. The majority were handguns, shotguns, and rifles. However,
we were able to get an AK-47 off the street.
Law enforcement officers took in 7 assault-style weapons and 12 ghost guns. San Mateo County Sheriff Carlos Bolanos says they will destroy all of the weapons they took in. The point of the gun buyback:
get them off the streets, enhance public safety, and ensure that they don't fall into the wrong hands.
This was the 5th gun buyback event in San Mateo County in the past several years.
In the last 4 gun buybacks, there's been 1,679 firearms turned in.
Marin County law enforcement agencies also teamed up for a gun buyback on Saturday, the first time since 2016.
A gun buyback event like today is a perfect opportunity for those that no longer want guns in their homes to come in and turn them in.
These events are put on in the hopes of reducing gun violence, a topic that is top of mind for so many people right now.
I think it's on everyone's mind, to be honest.
We're not pretending that this will stop these mass shootings, but it's one action that people can take to keep our community safer.
Robin Siebler didn't want the guns she inherited to end up in the wrong hands.
If somebody breaks into my house and steals a gun that's there, my fear would be that could then be used against other people.
Fred Palmer, a retired police officer, says he didn't want an extra gun just sitting around the house anymore.
I just want to get rid of the gun. I would have done it for nothing.
Handguns, shotguns, and rifles went for $100 apiece. Assault-style weapons and ghost guns went for $200 each. In South San Francisco, Max Darrow, KPIX5.
San Mateo County is planning to hold another gun buyback event for later this year. Marin County's DA hopes to do at least 2 each year.
Well, that's good, I guess. It's going to get some guns off of the street. It's like a drop in the bucket, though, right? It's not a big amount of firearms.
Yeah, and it's also in addition to that. I mean, okay, there are winners here in that. Yes, the guns themselves are getting out of circulation, right? And one can look at this like in a very poor analogy, but like pennies, right? They are getting taken off the market, right, and getting taken out of circulation over time, right? In coins. The same is going on here. That being said, there's just still so many guns out there, you're right, and it's so easy to get them, and these are not necessarily the guns that mass shooters. There are a few there, right? There were a few of those automatic weapons, but they're really the rifles and the pistols and the .22 and the .38 service revolver. These aren't the weapons that are being used in these quote unquote mass shootings, which is really starting to bug me in a massive kind of a way as a phrase to talk about them. It's assault rifles and semi-assault rifles, semi-automatic, automatic assault rifles. Those are the ones we really need to be getting off the street somehow, and just getting and just ceasing to like produce for public fucking consumption. Like, who the hell needs these guns, bro? Who needs these guns? I don't know.
Well, it just depends. You're most gun violence is committed with handguns, so getting the handguns off the street is good too. And handguns and like shotguns and rifles are people use them to take their own lives and stuff too. So
you know what? Actually, that's a really fantastic point. 55% of gun deaths every year are suicides. So I don't want to discount the value of getting these guns just out of people's houses, right out of grandma's house, where someone goes one day, grandson goes, and he's not feeling great, and oh, there's access to a gun. I absolutely am glad that those are getting taken out of the picture, because so many of the gun deaths in this country are related to suicide. So, or caused by suicide. So, thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
So we got one more story in winners and losers. This is apparently Tesla and PG&E, our two favorite entities around here, are teaming up to, I don't know, do something. Oh, it's in Moss Landing. It's out in Monterey, kind of.
That's
not too far away.
So there's fans in the top that cool everything.
Looks like a cathedral.
And as we go to peak load, it does get louder. It sounds like a swarm of bees.
Below the decommissioned towers of what was once California's largest power plant, PG&E cut the ribbon on its Moss Landing storage facilities.
Yay.
256 Tesla megapacks that act as one large battery for the state power grid.
Off-site from here, and sometimes many miles away, is a solar plant that's generating right now. That in turn should go to a customer. If it's not going to a customer, then the CAISO can say, Elkhorn, start absorbing that power, so breathe it in.
And when it started breathing a few weeks ago, it immediately became PG&E's largest storage project.
Yeah, so 182.5 megawatts that Elkhorn provides can power 250,000 homes. Typical utility installations have been in the 10, maybe 50 megawatts was a big one. 182 megawatts is an extraordinary project.
We are able to store some energy, but even with a facility of that size, it's still a relatively small amount of energy.
Lucas Davis is a professor and researcher at UC Berkeley's Energy Institute. He says a site like this is progress. The challenge is scale.
These lithium-ion batteries, they've come down in cost a lot, and that's what's.
Oh, of course he's going to put that fucking. God damn it!
But to do this in the electricity market is just a whole nother scale. We use vast amounts of electricity with air conditioning, with other forms of electricity. So we're not anywhere near having enough storage to smooth out daily, let alone seasonal variability in electricity supply.
We should add that there's an entirely different battery project on the plant property. It's owned by a third party. It might be the largest of its kind in the world, and it's had some problems. It has been offline. The PG&E Tesla project, however, said to be up and running as expected. We're here in Moss Landing. Wilson Walker, KPIX5.
Progress, producer Dave.
No, lithium-ion technology is shit. It's like why your laptop you get a laptop and then a year later the battery only lasts half as long as it used to, and so we're just going to install a bunch of that, like to
apparently to store the power. Apparently, whatever Elon Musk wants, Elon Musk gets, or something. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out.
So there's ways in which batteries can be good for this, but it has to be like radically distributed. Almost to the point where each person has and maintains their own battery. And then that's just for homeowners, right? Because apartment complexes aren't going to fucking bother with that shit. So then it's just actually the rich have power. But whatever.
True.
I wouldn't even be mad at it if it wasn't fucking Tesla and Elon Musk. And then they had to put that ugly fucking truck there.
Los ricos cada vez tienen poder. No se puede hacer, pero es verdad.
It looks like San Francisco needs to get their shit together, and it's about a tower, but it's not about the fucking Millennium Tower this time.
Right? How refreshing is that?
It's amazing.
Let's get some shit together, or have it leak out of the pipes.
We start with dozens of San Francisco tenants angry and frustrated.
Someone tell us where we're supposed to go. You told us you were going to come out 10 minutes ago. It's been 30 minutes. All we need is for you guys to send an email. It's been sent.
Oh no, sacrificial lamb.
Apartment residents confronted building management demanding some answers. They were forced to leave after a broken pipe flooded the high-rise. As of now, they have been locked out for more than 72 hours.
And as KPIX5's Andrea Borba reports, residents still don't know when they'll be able to return. Andrea?
It was around 2 on Friday afternoon when a water main broke at the very top of 33 Tehama, sending water shooting down 35 floors of elevator shafts and fouling the electrical system.
We were asked to leave the building. I grabbed my cat and dog, didn't even grab my wallet, came out here.
The trouble, though, was just beginning for residents of the building.
I live in 2F, the first one on the second floor right here.
There's currently no timeline for repairing and reopening the 400-unit luxury building. Residents were evacuated and moved to hotels around San Francisco.
If anything, I think they should be paying us $4,000 a month for this experience right now.
This morning, those residents began getting notices to vacate those hotel rooms.
At 1 o'clock today, we had to leave, and because Tehama didn't figure it out yet, so we're still down here waiting.
You don't have time to sit here waiting. Your lawyers will tell us.
This morning, that upset boiled over to anger as residents demanded answers and communication from Hines, the Houston-based owner of 33 Tehama.
Let's go inside. We live here. We live here.
It's private property, and I need you guys to step away. I'm feeling unsafe.
Residents are worried about where they'll sleep tonight. Hines senior managing partner Paul Parody says that the RSA convention hitting San Francisco has made finding consistent housing for flood-displaced residents tricky.
We are going to have places for people to stay every day. Unfortunately, we can't guarantee that it's in the same place.
Just communication. That's all I want. I got kids. They got to go to school. They got to go to work. I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. I just want the communication line to be together. That's it. I don't want to be out here like this.
Parody says communications have been strained because the flood took out phone lines.
The only way that we can take incoming questions is with our email address, and we have people checking this constantly.
Residents dispute this.
The fastest method of communicating is the email they've given us. They don't reply to ever.
Hines representatives say they are making individual appointments with residents in the building to go up the stairs, not the elevator, to go and retrieve more of their items. There is currently no opening date for this building. In San Francisco, Andrea Borba, KPIX5.
So what's going on here is a very old building was given a facelift and sold to people as a luxury apartment. And then once one of the things that happens in a very old building happened, like the water main breaks. These things happen. It wasn't just a small pipe, it was a big pipe, and it broke. And it fucked up the whole building. Now, they're like, but I rented a luxury apartment. It's like, no, you rented a 60-year-old building with a facelift.
Yes, very much so.
That they didn't replace the pipes on when they gave it the facelift because they didn't have to.
Right. I pay $4,000 a month to live here. This must be a fine establishment. They owe me the money. I do have to agree with the representative that the sacrificial lamb that they basically sent out there to defend the big corporate behemoth at the end there. Oh, nice. So cheers to her for standing her ground, but that's a tough job. And that's a tough assignment. Oh, what do we got here? How's it going? How's it going out there? Oh.
So yeah, I mean, I just mean to say there's nobody to root for. I don't not feel sorry for the people that like their apartment's flooded, they can't live at it, and they're not getting any help from the person who already took their rent for this month, right?
Right.
You know, because rent's due on the 1st, so they already have the rent. So
right.
You know, if you paid rent at the end of the month, it might be a little different story. You go, hey, just don't pay your rent this month.
Yeah, we're cool. We're cool, bro. But maybe, you know, pay it forward, right? Don't have to pay your rent next month. That would be nice.
But even that's like, you know, they just gave them the rent. So like, what are they going to do? We'll pay rent again. A lot of people can't do that. But there's just nobody. I don't know. They're like, that's not a luxury apartment building. Like, it's got a luxury face on it, but that's not a luxury apartment building. That shit's been there since the fucking 50s or something, probably, you know?
Yeah. And it's a long-term hotel too. So it's not like though it's, you know, it's definitely not, you know, homeowners we're talking about, or people with a bunch of money to be able to afford, you know, to find somewhere else to go. So, anyway, well, hopefully the landlord will get their shit together and they will figure something out for their tenants and fix that water leak for sure. But until then, we'll just have to hang out down ballot. How are things going out there on election night for y'all? It's election day here in Santa Clara County and across California. It's primary election day. Things are happening. I didn't see if were there any results yet posted in the San Francisco races.
No, I looked. There were not.
That's shady. I would hope there'd be more. So it looks like we've got results coming through, at least from Santa Clara County in some races. So we could take a look at some of the local races for the county and for the state and
there's
city.
so few people report. There's so few like votes reporting. I'm seeing like 950 and 445 here. We can take a look at the governor's race, though.
It's pretty sad.
It's going about as you'd expect it to go.
Sure, and that's certainly just in our county, right? So it's going to be pretty heavily Gavin Newsom friendly, I would imagine. This is a very Democratic county. We tend to skew towards the Mayberry RFD, just do no harm, centrist, don't rock the boat approach. So Gavin Newsom will more than likely coast to victory, at least here. We'll see how he does at the state level. I think I popped the state link in there because of the controller's race, which has been pretty heated. You might have seen a lot of ads for that in your television screen. So we can check in and see what's going on there.
So
I don't know.
This is just for our county?
County, and then if you look at local, where it is. So the second tab down here under results, look at local. Is there a local?
There's U.S.
races?
Senate, but yeah, we'll take a look at local here.
Yeah, that's local. And then you can look at like the mayor's race in San Jose and the county.
Oh no, Johnny Camus might be in a runoff with somebody. God damn it.
Well, this is actually, let me see. What do we got here? Wow, that's impressive.
So hold on. This is County Supervisor District 1, Santa Clara County, for anybody listening on the pod. This is Sylvia Arenas is winning. Johnny Camus is second. And it looks like they may end up in some kind of runoff, although not a lot of votes are counted.
That's true, but well, there's also not a lot of votes that have been submitted either, too. So this is actually pretty interesting. Sylvia Arenas coming in really strong here. Johnny Camus, I thought, might actually win the primary just because he is the most conservative out of all these candidates. He's certainly while he's not a Republican, he certainly profiles Republican, and it's a district that now doesn't include Almaden, but it does include South County, Gilroy, Morgan Hill, San Martin, South San Jose. So it is slightly more conservative than your average district, but not surprising to see him make the runoff. More surprising to see that Claudia Rossi didn't have a stronger showing. I thought she was going to turn in a little more of a stronger grassroots campaign. So we'll see what happens in the final tally, but.
Isn't he just, if there's a runoff, isn't he just going to get clobbered?
More than likely. Sylvia will probably clean his clock if that ends up being the runoff, just simply on the demographics alone, frankly.
Right, because she's a Republican trying to run for county office in Santa Clara County, which just leans, it's such a blue area. Even when even with the gerrymander or whatever they're trying to do, you know what I'm saying? It's still going to be an area that heavily favors Democrats.
We've been talking about data tonight, right? And charts. Just look at these data. So so there's Sylvia and Johnny, but then below, Rich Constantine and Claudia Rossi are also Democrats, and also fairly. You'd argue just as progressive as Sylvia, if not more, in some ways, at least on Claudia's side. So if you add their votes to what Sylvia has now, right, those bars alone would just probably topple Johnny, no problem. And more than likely, their voters are not going to be swayed by Johnny's message when it comes down to it. It's just a values thing. And even though it's a nonpartisan race, the party tends to come out pretty easily in the messaging. I was once told that when I knocked doors for myself. Someone told me, "You're not going to like me," and I said, "Well, what do you mean?" Because I just introduced myself, and he said, "Well, I know who you are, and I've seen your materials, and I know what you stand for, and you're not going to like me." I'm like, "Well, that's just not true. You seem like a very likable person. We may not agree on things, but and so we ended up having a nice conversation. But he definitely wasn't voting for me." so it's values, and they can and people can read between the lines. So I think this looks really good for Sylvia. Frankly, that's bally for her, getting in that runoff, and we'll see what happens.
So for County Supervisor District 4, there's only one person running. It's Susan Ellenberg. She won. Good for her.
She won by unanimous acclamation.
By unanimous consent, because there was no actual option to not consent. So
correct. So again, bally to her for scaring off all the competition. For assessor, it looks like Larry Stone is coasting to victory pretty handily. Although I gotta say, can you read Andrew Crockett's vote percentage there? Is it 40?
About 31.
That's actually not bad, frankly. That's not too shabby for the campaign and the resources he had, and running against a 27-year incumbent. I think not too shabby. So good on him. How's DA doing?
Looks like Rosen's going to win. I'm just really pissed off that the guy that wants to put everybody in jail is in second place.
That's really disappointing.
Because that guy just clearly wanted to throw people in jail. That was like, I even told him that on Twitter today. I was like, because he promoted an ad and I saw it on Twitter and I'm like, dude, but you just want to throw everybody in jail. Why would I vote for you?
Well, that's, that is what it is. That's disappointing. But you have to like Jeff Rosen's strength in that race. He did very, very well. There looks like there's going to be no doubt there once the votes are counted. And so just so folks are aware, we're looking at results. Yes, they are early on, but they also, are pretty indicative of where things are going to land when the final analysis is made. So, and that's simply because this represents most of the votes that have been brought in before today. And then the only thing left to count are the votes that come in today. And generally speaking, especially in these past few years, these results, the early results, have tended to match or at least mesh somewhat with the count of the votes that come in later. So you're not going to see, while the vote counts may change, you're not going to see the percentages change a whole lot. Maybe sway 5% one way or the other. But if it's a substantial bit, like Jeff Rosen has a substantial lead here, it's not likely that that's going to change no matter how many votes get counted. However,
so I'm not going to lie. I didn't vote for any of the sheriffs because they all seem like cops.
Yeah, I mean, they're running to be the top cop. Who's winning right now?
It looks like
Kevin Jensen,
Robert Bob Johnson, because nobody knew that the guy named Robert might go by Bob.
Yeah, Bob is the current police chief in Palo Alto. That should tell you all you need to know, listener and watcher of this show, this podcast and show. That should tell you all you need to know. So, oh shit, that's not good. But luckily, it looks like what's the percentage vote for Bob?
34 to 29. So this could, but they're all cops. I looked up all of them, and I was like, I don't like any of you. I don't dislike any of you more than any of the others of you.
Well, so it looks like then Kevin Jensen will go to a runoff with Bob, and we'll see what happens in November. But again, that's another situation where Kevin will probably consolidate a lot of Christine Nagaya's vote and a lot of votes for Sean Allen, I'm sure too, because they're all running in the same lane, as it were. Whereas Bob is certainly going to be the crime and punishment candidate.
Gotcha. So we got the mayor. This was shaking out about how I thought it was going to probably end up looking. We have Cindy Chavez versus Peter Thiel. Sorry, Matt Mahan. Sorry, Peter Thiel. Matt Mahan.
No, I think you were right the first time.
Peter Thiel. Yeah, no. Peter Thiel is going to go into a runoff with Cindy Chavez.
This is shaking down pretty much exactly how I figured it might. So what are we at with the percentages there for Cindy and Matt? I can't read the.
They're about 40 to 31.
Okay. In this particular case, this is pretty impressive for Mahan. Honestly, in terms of where his prospects look, what his prospects look like for November, I would say just based on these numbers, that Cindy Chavez should be worried.
Well, you think the Dev Davis? Do you think the Dev Davis voters will go to a Mahan?
100%. Maybe no. Okay, no, I 100% agree with that analysis. Obviously, never 100% of them will. Right? I think that there will be some who like Dev because she's a moderate female candidate, and given the demographic of the electorate right now and the issues that are out there at play in the national perspective, And I especially heard this at the doors. Even someone asked me, "What is your candidate's stance on women's rights?" And I said, "He is for them."
That's weird.
I mean, what kind of question is that? But that's a question I got, and anyone who's knocked enough doors as a volunteer, if you're the candidate, you get questions ad nauseum. You get questions off, the questions you never even thought you'd have to answer, you get as a candidate on the doors, because they are so excited to be able to talk to the candidate. If you're a volunteer, it's a little different. You don't get a lot of interaction typically. So when I got questions like that, it kind of caught me off guard. Like, well, he's for women's rights. I don't know, what else am I supposed to say? The truth. But anyway, long story short, I don't see a lot of Deb's vote going to Cindy at the end of the day. If it was, it would strictly be anyone who was voting for Deb because she was a woman and she might align a little better, or she knows her, or she lived in Deb's city council district, right? Raul's voters would probably trend more towards Cindy.
Yeah, more progressive candidate, right?
Absolutely. But again, you're not talking about a very large percentage. And frankly, Jim Spence getting that much vote is really disturbing. What's Jim's percentage there?
7.5. 7.5.
Yeah, that 7.5% of San Jose. What are you thinking, folks? Like, look up the people you're voting for. Like, that guy wants to create like gulags for our unhoused population.
It's that guy.
Good.
It's the gulag guy.
He's not good. For the what did he call it, folks? The hobo problem. He wants to do something about the hobo problem, folks. I mean, you're kidding me? 7.5%. Oh my God, San Jose, you're just disgracing me right now. Anyway, long story short, though, they are angry. I'm more than likely Jim's voters, angry white people, will flock to Matt Mahan, because Matt Mahan is running, no matter who he is or what he actually does stand for, is running a campaign that is targeting angry white people. And that's why you're seeing this really large bump in his vote, because this campaign and the turnout to this date is older white people, over 65, and white folks are majority of the vote that's been counted so far, and more than likely will be the majority of the vote that gets counted total. That's why he's doing so well. So hopefully in November we see a more colorful electorate and a more diverse electorate that can help to elect Cindy Chavez. But we shall see, from our progressive perspective, but we shall see. I think that he's got a really good shot here.
That's weird that you say the turnout was low, because like my impression was I was seeing people from San Jose that don't ever tweet, like tweeting about voting, and everybody on Facebook was talking. But I understand that's a self-selected sample of people who are going to tend to get along with me for whatever reason, and then they're going to generally be more civic minded. But
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just think maybe turnout will be a little higher in Santa Clara County than other places. I mean, we can see right now, if you scroll up on the right-hand side, they usually have some sort of, that window, here we go. Ballots cast. So there you go. Registered voters, 1 million. Shit, it's only going to be like 300,000 people are going to vote. 310,000 people or some shit are going to vote out of like
because they estimated like at the max, like, the vote count of everything that came in today would be would match what had come in to date, and double, right? So we'll see. That's the results we'll see at 8:45 ish. So these numbers could change, but not in a significant enough way. But we shall see.
So nothing from San Francisco.
Nothing here at all yet. That's strange. Maybe they just don't announce until 8:45. We can look at the state election though. Oh wow. Don't worry about that 5% reporting. That's a silly number. Don't even stress that number. It's just telling you how many. It's just telling you how many precincts have sent in their numbers. It doesn't have anything to do with the number of votes and potential or cast already. But it looks like Gavin Newsom is this is the state numbers. This is consolidated from everything that's been reported statewide. So as you noticed, for example, San Francisco hadn't reported any numbers yet. So San Francisco's numbers will not be reflected here yet, right? This goes off the same numbers that we get.
That's not just like 7 people, actually. That's a lot of people. It's going to be like a significant portion of the electorate, right?
And it's usually the bigger counties: Los Angeles, San Francisco, Santa Clara, Riverside, Orange, San Diego. They come in a little later or a little slower, simply because they're big and it takes a while to tally the votes and to get them.
Oh my God, there's no map.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but it looks like
there's so much that's left to be desired in terms of data on election night at a local level and in California. It's really sad.
So this is like not even a thing. This is like Gavin Newsom's going to walk off with this as the number of precincts report. It's going to probably trend more and more toward Gavin Newsom because he is the only recognizable Democrat, and California is a place where most people live in the cities. And as more and more votes come in, more and more votes from the city are going to come in, and he's just going to slowly increase his lead over the course of the night.
Yes. However, the nuance is that in California, we have what's called an open primary system. So it actually, while it would matter at a city or a county level, if someone were to be crushing it with whatever, 58%, is that what it says?
Yes.
Yeah, if someone were crushing with that in the mayor's race or one of the county supervisors' race, right, they would win outright. In this race, because we have this open primary system for statewide races and for federal races, Gavin's going to still have to face off against whoever comes in second. So let's find out who's second right now. Looks like back up there with 18.7%. Who is it?
Brian Daly. I don't even know who the fuck that is.
I believe he's in the state assembly and or Senate. I want to say, anyone in the chat happens to know, that'd be fabulous if you did know. I would be really impressed. He's in the state legislature. Basically, he's a Republican. He's probably the most respectable Republican. So, we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, he's definitely way ahead as far as second place goes. So that will be your runoff. So Gavin will have to prove himself in November against a Republican who's not a birther. It doesn't seem like. So he will have to work a little bit.
Let's check out the lieutenant governor. See what's going on here.
Yeah, so Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis is your incumbent, and looks like she is doing very, very well.
Very well.
And then looks like I don't know if Angela Underwood Jacobs is the top, or at least the second place vote getter. I don't know how many candidates are in this race. Okay, yeah, it looks like she is. So Angela's looking pretty strong. She's got a good 100,000 vote lead on David Fennell. I don't know anything much about Angela, so I might have to ask the good wife about her. I don't know her so well. But Eleni looks pretty strong for re-election, and she hasn't done anything wrong, and lieutenant governor is not really a role that you can really fuck up, to be honest with you.
So you said the controller's race is an interesting one. Is that right?
Yes, let's check that out, because that is supposed to be the hot ticket of the night. And oh, look at this. Interesting. Okay. Oh, wow. Polls are always
so these what I can tell here is these four Democrats probably all went after each other, right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's what the left does.
I am the real Democrat. Malia Cohen certainly had the establishment support. She was supported by the current controller, Betty Yee. She had the support, I believe, of the party, but I don't quote me on that. But she certainly had the establishment support. Ron Galperin also through a lot of Democratic support from Southern California. And then Yvonne Yu, whose ads you might have seen on TV, talking about how you could be the controller. Very cute. She's garnering quite a bit of the vote too, and definitely she was a former mayor from Orange County, and is running a very rootsy campaign, but also plugging into that Democratic moderate social liberal fiscal conservative vote, and looks like that she's tapping it pretty well here. She's still trailing Malia Cohen by about 40,000 votes to get to the runoff. With looks like Lonnie Chen will take the Republican banner forward. And Lonnie, for those of you who don't know, has been around quite a bit. He's been on CNN. He's been on national news. He looks kind of like actor BD Wong. So sorry, BD. Yeah, Lonnie looks like he'll be carrying the weight of the Republican Party in this race. But again, if you add up Yvonne's vote, Malia's vote, Ron's vote, Steve Glazer,
it's going to be a bloodbath in general.
It's going to be a bloodbath for Lonnie Chen. So it really is which Democrat makes it through, and that's why you've seen Malia, Yvonne, and Steve Glazer running ads like nonstop. Ron, I don't think has the money to run ads, but this is a great showing, frankly, seeing as how he didn't. But Steve has been on TV, so anyone went on TV looks like they get double digits, and then the people you don't see on TV unfortunately. And that's true in the mayor's race too, frankly. Cindy Chavez and Matt Mahan have been all over your TV screens and your social medias. So not surprising that they're 1 and 2 in the final tally here, or at least the primary tally. We'll see what happens in the final tally in November.
So we have 2 U.S. Senate races. One's a full term and one's a partial term.
It's actually the same seat, if you'll believe that.
Wait,
this is
what?
one of those. Yeah. This is one of those weird quirks of the election, because Alex Padilla was appointed to fill Kamala Harris's seat. And oddly enough, it's very strange. I don't know how to describe it, but he has to face election to serve a partial term, but I guess the full term also came up at the same time. And there's just this weird quirk of elections where you have to vote for him twice, basically. So very odd. It does not at this point look like people are confused. He's getting 58%
We'll have to check.
of the vote.
We'll have to check the other one.
Right. He's getting 58% of the vote.
He's doing better
here.
in the partial one.
He's doing better in the partial. So people
That's
would
the
like
real
Alex
race,
Padilla.
right? The real race here is, does Alex Padilla in the full term or the partial term get the?
Well, what that says is that a few more people want Alex Padilla to serve less years. That's pretty much what that tells me. That's what my scientific analysis tells me.
That's what's really going on here. That's the real race.
So let's see who is second in this race, so just we can see who's going to be taking on that. Mark Muser. Okay,
I know. I've heard that. I've heard this name before. He's like,
you know this name.
He's like definitely out of like I think he's Silicon Valley guy.
Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see. And then anyone else down further down the ballot here? Anyone else? No. This is a big race. So okay. It looks like Mark is going to take on.
Well, let's see who's
Alex there.
Let's see who's in second place for the partial term.
Yeah, I don't know how this works. I guess Mark is here too. So I don't know how this works. Maybe you had to file for both, and if you win, but I don't. It's very weird. This is sort of why people get turned off by elections, because it's just fucking confusing. And people just want they want to pay less, and they don't want. Not everyone wants to pay less in taxes. They want fair taxes. They want fair representation. They want someone to answer the phone when they have a problem. That's pretty much it.
I mean, that's
not that hard.
That's a reasonable thing to want, but I don't think people care much that you have to elect competent people for that to happen, right?
Yeah, no, and it's that, and that's also unfortunate because right now we're seeing really, really diminished turnout in these races, and that's despite the fact that everyone was mailed the ballot, right? You, me, everyone and their brother got a ballot in the mail if you're registered to vote, and there's really no excuse to just take 5 minutes and crank it out if you care enough. And obviously, if folks don't care enough, and that's our fault.
Maybe it's not that. Maybe
that's our politics fault.
It's just maybe the results, or because our society is so complicated. The results of what you do when you vote, or even if you volunteer in your community or anything like that, the results are so far abstracted from the action that you took that I think people really just need a sense of civic responsibility or whatever. They're just not going to vote because otherwise it just doesn't seem like, even on the local level, like I said, the world's just getting so complicated that people can't really see the results of themselves voting. And it's just the way of the world.
Yeah, it's very true. And I think whoever can figure out how to make that direct connection is going to do very, very well.
And not for nothing, you go vote for the president and you're not confident that if the person you voted for gets the most votes that they're going to be the president, then what do you start,
That's true. And then what's the point of coming out the next time, right? So we can do better. We can absolutely do better. We can do better to educate folks about the importance, and we can do better to make sure our elections are secure so that the people have confidence. And open source voting might be some of the solution for this, but we'll get into that in another episode of Down Ballot. We can talk about it some other time.
So we got a great thing and another thing this evening. Podcast listeners, thanks for toughing that out. You can get this video of this on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, and BitChute. Because some of this will not make too much sense if you weren't able to see the video. So go check out the video and make sure you follow us in whichever of those video places you decide to take a look. We have one last story we do and another thing. And this is It was like why who you vote for matters.
Yeah, absolutely. So Matt Haney just got elected to the state assembly, and now he is fighting for last call to be moved from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. So fucking A, elections matter.
Looks like we're going through this again. What if last call came a little later, like 4 a.m.? There's a renewed push tonight to allow some California cities to keep serving alcohol until the wee hours of the morning. Supporters believe the timing is just right, but there's plenty of opposition as well. Here's NBC Bay Area's Christy Smith.
Especially nightclubs, we have such a compressed amount of time when we have a fair amount of business.
At Beau, in San Francisco's Castro district, Tim Eicher, an owner, says staying open later would help his bottom line. They had to close for several months and pivoted during the pandemic. He says business has generally bounced back.
But, and there's kind of a lot of pent-up demand because people are just ready to go out. But at the same time, you know, we had so many months without income where, you know, the rent piles up. So, you know, we're still kind of trying to recover from that.
We know that nightlife is so incredibly important for our culture and for our economy.
Today, State Senator Scott Wiener and Assemblymember Matt Haney came here to talk about their new legislation. If passed, it would allow 7 pilot cities, including Oakland and San Francisco, to extend alcohol sales to as late as 4 a.m.
When you think of why people move to cities, there are many reasons, and one of them is that they want to have vibrant nightlife.
They say California's one-size-fits-all 2 a.m. cutoff doesn't work. Wiener introduced similar legislation in 2018, but Governor Jerry Brown vetoed it, saying it would simply promote more late-night drinking.
We have perception to the ways that we have to step up.
If you're going to have alcohol legal, then what the fuck do you care what time it is when somebody drinks it?
Right. That's actually
now coming out of the pandemic.
Myra Jimenez is with the watchdog group Alcohol Justice and says a later last call is just a dangerous idea.
Driving under the influence, the reality that we don't have the infrastructure to take on, you know, folks driving later hours than 2 a.m. on our highways.
I dispute the notion that when you actually end determines that. And I think Ben is also correct that having staggered closing times has a lot of public safety benefits.
Wiener says the bill would give cities options, including extending hours only on certain nights or neighborhoods. He says qualifying cities would also need to work with law enforcement to develop appropriate public safety and transportation strategies. Christy Smith, NBC Bay Area News.
That's a fucking great idea. Yeah, let the clubs stay open later. I think especially the clubs because there's like music, there's something to do there. There's like a whole occurrence there, right?
Yeah, and and especially when it comes to clubs and those spots, you know, I don't know anyone who's still partying at 2 a.m. who wouldn't mind still partying until 4 a.m. Right? So whatever happens to be coursing through their system, it's just adrenaline.
Like the nightclub owner was saying, how much do you think the fucking lease is on that spot in the Castro? Why don't we let him stay open until 3 on Friday and Saturday, or 4 on Friday and Saturday, and rake in some more money for his fucking club
and some tax revenue for them city services and shit.
I know exactly where that place is too. That place used to be called Harvey's, and that's a dope spot. And if that was open till 4 a.m., that would be quite good, actually.
Here's to being able to enjoy and pour one back with you, Producer Dave.
Yep. So that's been Downballot. Like I said, everybody check out the video of that because some of it was very video dependent. And Councilman, you want to read the show out?
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us. I really hope that everyone out there voted, at least those of you living in California where we had an election today, and that you at least studied up a little bit before you did it. That would be very helpful. So keep doing that and tell your neighbors, tell your friends. It's not a worthless endeavor. It's not a futile endeavor. In fact, that's exactly what the status quo, the powers that be, the evil big brother, right, that we all fear, that's exactly what they want you to think. So don't think that. Don't succumb to that. Vote. Get educated. Get knowledgeable and vote. And if you have any questions, come to Downballot. We have all the answers sometimes.
That's not true. This is Audible Smoke Signal. This is Locals. Live listeners, hang out. We're going to do Local Love in a minute. We got a great guest tonight. And we'll be back in, 10, 15 minutes. Thanks for doing this with me this evening, Councilman.
As always. You too.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing green. Here at the front of the stage waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the US economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rockin' me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jockin' me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just what we want and enjoy the band. So sit back, just sit back and enjoy the band. We just what we want.